Now, everyone's making it in film and TV, but we don't really know how. Here, we uncover the truth. Welcome to the Your Cinema podcast. Welcome to the Your Cinema podcast. It's the place where we explore the truth about the film and TV industry and theatre and hear it directly from those who are smashing it in their areas. Today, we've got industry royalty. She's a pioneer at a very, very high level. She's worked on so many amazing projects, including The Kitchen, Riches, County Lights. Like, there's so many. Like, we could be here for ages to list off her credits. But she's also won 2 BAFTAs, which is huge. I introduced to you Aisha Bywaters. What's going on? Whoop, 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 whoop.
Hello, how are you?
Very good, very good,
Good.
very good. So Aisha, first and foremost, thank you for joining us today. It's, I know time is precious, so definitely not taking for granted you being here. So I'm just gonna dive straight in. I want to know, because like your career is so vast, right? I really want to like get to grips with like how you started. So like, how did you actually get into casting?
So I basically went to uni, did a politics degree, decided that politics wasn't really for me. And then I left, and I'd always really liked drama. I was in the National Youth Theatre, and I worked for a theatre company. I worked for a theatre company in London called Tamasha Theatre Company as an intern. So I did an internship there for a few months, and while I was there, I helped the director cast a play and was like, I didn't know this was a job. And she's like, yeah, there's a job called a casting director. And it suddenly all clicked for me. It suddenly all was like, oh my goodness. Like, I love being around actors. I don't want to be an actor myself. This is a place where I can, watch, support, be a part of the process, but I don't have to be on stage.
Wow, amazing. So you know what, right? Because I didn't know that you had that background in terms of like, going to like the National Youth Theatre and stuff. So was that you playing around with maybe potentially wanting to be an actor, or were you doing something completely different there?
I mean, I'm from London, and then actually it was in London, and I always liked acting. I always liked singing. Always did those things at school,
Yeah.
but I didn't really want to be an actor. It was just a great experience. Like, I got to spend a summer in a play at the Lyric Hammersmith, and we performed every night. Um, and we're a little company, and so those experiences are just really nice. But I like I like to be around people. I like to be in companies. I like to do stuff. So I
Yeah.
wasn't a lead. I was in the chorus. But it's a great place to be. And so many people now are are still around in different parts of the industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really nice.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, right, in terms of like when you began interning and finding your way within casting, what was the industry like at that time for actors?
I mean, it was a very different industry to what it is today.
Hmm.
When I first started, you would record an actor on a tape and then have to doubt like with your session, you would then plug that into a computer, plug a camcorder into a computer, and in real time have to wait the 2 hours, 3 hours that session had gone on, and
Wow.
then it would be on your computer, and then you could edit it. So everything was a lot slower. You
Yeah.
know, everything was quite London centric. Can you get here to come for your audition? So
Yep.
people were spending quite a bit of money coming. And that was just something that if you lived somewhere else, you would at some point that you'd have to come down. People were asking like, can we wait till after this time and after peak trains to come down a bit later?
Oh.
People were sending headshots in the post. People were sending letters. I mean, I'm making it sound crazy long ago. It was like it's like 17 years ago, but it was a slower thing.
Mm.
And so I would say that then it's more difficult
Hmm.
to see a vast amount of people.
Wow.
which I don't know if, it's something we'll get into a bit later about
Mm.
like taping and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree that there are many disadvantages,
Mm-hmm.
but being able to tape and being able to live all around the country, maybe you're filming abroad,
Mm.
maybe you're on holiday. People are scared to take a holiday because they might miss an opportunity. Like,
Man.
and also that you can see more people.
Yep.
It's not, it has to be in this room. We've got it from these times. And also, then we have to go and edit those tapes. And we have to do that in real time. So, it's not like here's the file and we move and we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was different. It was different.
Wow. Very manual. Very manual.
Yeah.
So in that, right, and it's very, I think what's very interesting is you mentioned the whole, like, the cost of traveling, the not really being able to live as you want to, because you just want to be available for as many opportunities, right? It When I think about 17 years ago, it makes me wonder, like, and I think this is fairly obvious, but I'd love to hear it from your perspective. Like, what was like the diversity like, yeah, in terms of actors and people that were considered for stuff.
Well, definitely in that time, things were were really different. So I'm going to be real. I don't know how much has changed, right?
Wow.
I don't know. Definitely some of the things that are made now and
Hmm.
explored now might not have been explored. But like in the 90s, we had Desmond's on every week. Like we don't get shows like that anymore all the time with
Yeah.
more than one series. So we get opportunities, but a lot of shows I work on, they don't get recommissioned. What is different now is that you can have conversations about things. What is different now is that you get a script and you're like, who are these characters? Can we open it up? And people are really, really responsive to that. They want you to open it up, and not just in terms of race, in terms of gender,
Mhm.
in terms of sexuality, in terms of disability, like in every way. Like, what is a community? We can have those conversations on a broader scale. What does it look like? And
Mm.
what do you want it to look like?
Wow. So see, this is really interesting because it it almost seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it almost seems like before, and you're talking from a casting director's perspective, right? You're able to like give input in terms of like, okay, cool, so can we go this way, can we go that way? Is that's what you're referring to, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. So before then, what was it like? Was it like, okay, this is who we're looking for, can you just go and find it and that's it? Well, like, what was the dynamics between you and the rest of the production team?
No, I don't think it's to do with that at all. I think a
Okay.
casting director's job has always been to ask those questions.
Hmm.
And, certainly the casting directors that I've had the pleasure to know or work with or, consider colleagues and peers
Yeah.
are always about trying to open things up. That's a part of their job.
Yeah.
Commissioners have changed. The structures in companies have changed.
Mm,
So with different people getting into positions
mm,
of where they have power, where they might want to see different things than
mm.
the people who had all the sort of higher stakes jobs
Yeah.
that long ago. So I think that's it.
Yeah. Fair dues, fair dues, fair dues. So in terms of like just seeing the industry as it was, right? Was there like a personal passion or ambition that you had in terms of like maybe a difference that you wanted to make, or was it like, do you know what, I just always need to do the best job, that's my focus, and if anything else happens as a side of it, then great? Or was there like a difference that you wanted to make in the industry?
For me, it was quite simply that I just wanted to see myself and my life and the lives of those around me reflected on screen. So I'm from
Mm,
London. My parents are both from Jamaica,
mm,
and sometimes I felt like I wasn't seeing a London that I knew.
I got you.
Now imagine that, and I'm from London, right? Imagine all the people from all the other places around the country who are like, we barely ever see anything that
Yeah.
is about us, our stories told from our perspectives. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in, like, I did a politics degree and decided that, like, that wasn't the place for me. But I do believe that in the creative arts, we have the power through stories to talk about so much of what's happening in this country and in the world.
Mm,
And I just wanted to be in a position where I could be someone who could say, do we really think this reflects what
mm,
we're discussing?
mm.
Shall we try and find it?
Yeah. Wow. So then, with that being at your heart, right? Does that affect the kind of projects that that you take on? Because you are obviously, and like, you're gonna be in such huge demand. The more BAFTAs, the more notoriety. Da, 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 da. But does that affect like what kind of projects that you take on?
I mean, for me, in terms of the projects that I want to take on,
Mm.
it's about if they scare me. It's about reading a script and being like, have I done this before? Can I do this? I don't know if I can. And then it's like, that's interesting. I want to work on that. I want to find this. I don't know if it exists. And then again, it could be the creative team that you're working with,
Hmm.
but ultimately, it is the script, it is the story.
Yeah.
So um, I don't think you can go into everything
Yeah.
being like, this is my, greater passion,
Yeah.
that these stories are used to help people basically
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
feel like, they are seen.
Yeah.
But so really it is, like I said, it is ultimately the story.
Yeah.
But as an aside, running through things, that's what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
Whether that's through a comedy or a drama it's like,
Mm.
how do we find the truth in this?
Yes, I love that. Finding the truth, finding the truth. I love it. That comes up time and time again. So I wanted to know, right, because I don't think I've ever really unpacked this or uncovered this before, right? Like, what actually happens when, like, as a casting director, you're confirmed on a project? Or how does it actually work as a casting director? Do you have to pitch for work? Do people come to you? Like, how does it actually work?
I mean, it's different every time. But ultimately, a lot of the times, yeah, you interview for jobs, and they
Mm,
interview quite a few casting directors, and
yeah.
then they decide who they think they want to work with. And
Okay.
there's obviously people that you've worked with before that
Yeah.
want to work with you again, so they might
Mhm.
offer you a job. Um, and then there are people that have seen something that you've done and approach you, which is really nice.
Mm. Oh,
Um, but like actors and many other people in
yeah.
this industry, you have to you have to interview for jobs.
Wow. So then, right? See, yeah, I just never really thought about that. But like, so now you've been interviewed, you've got the job. What happens next? And I'm saying that from this perspective, right? I watched an interview with Spike Lee once, and he was saying that, like, with casting directors, like, it's not as simple as, okay, just we're gonna have Denzel in this, because he was like, well, I can go and get Denzel myself. Like, you have to bring something to the table, and like, I guess when you're confirmed on a project, then what happens next? Is it like you're reading the script, you're trying to understand the nuances of each character, and then you're searching for talent that fits that, or like, yeah, what happens next?
Well, I mean, first of all, that's what a lot of your interview should be, right?
Okay.
Is it should be less about ideas and more about what you believe the project to be, and the sort of the sort of way that you would approach that project. That's how you want to work on it, and hopefully that director, that producer will understand sort of the direction that you want to take and be like, that's cool. So that's sort of already been decided. Then you'll have like a conversation to be like, where should we start? What role should we start with? Did you have any ideas?
Ah,
This is what I was thinking, you know, should we do some ideas together, or should we offer a certain person, or should we just get out there and start auditioning people? Like, what's the route that you want to take?
yeah. Okay.
And that's sort of how we go about it.
I love that. I love that. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, in terms of like a good casting director, because there are loads. There are actually there's a lot more than I realized. Like in terms of like casting
Mm-hmm.
directors out there, right? What makes a good casting director, in your opinion?
What makes a good casting? First of all, I think that loads of them, the ones that I know anyway, they are really good. So
Mm.
it's a difficult time
Mm.
because there's only so much work for
Yeah.
actors, for casting directors, for do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
um, for me, what makes a good casting director, or what I like to achieve in my own casting,
Mm-hmm.
is for it to not take you out of the situation. So
Mm.
even if you're casting like super famous people,
Mm-hmm.
if even for one moment you're like, oh look, there's Ryan Gosling,
Yeah.
not there's character whoever,
Mm.
there's, you know,
Mm.
then I'm like, the casting hasn't entirely worked because it's taking you out of the situation. It hasn't helped do its job at this point, which is be part of telling this story.
Wow. Okay. I love that. Being focused on the story. Amazing. Amazing. You mentioned taping earlier, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and how that's changed in terms of, putting stuff in the post, etc., etc. I wanted to know, like, what do you prefer? And I guess I say that from the perspective of, that lockdown shift of, you know, people sending in tapes a lot more than having auditions, and then even when lockdown ended, it's kind of shifted towards that. What's your thoughts on that, and would you prefer?
I suppose the best way to explain this for me is that I cast a show called We Are Lady Parts,
Hmm.
and the first series of that, before we got to the first series, we had to do sort of a pilot, which was called a blap.
Hmm.
And to cast that, I cast it by tapes. And this was 2017.
Wow.
Um, so obviously I had to look for new talent.
Yep.
We wanted to explore high and low. I don't know a Muslim girl punk band that I could have tapped up in that situation. So, and you could have done it in sort of open call,
Yep.
sense
Yep.
of going and being like, we're going to be here at this date.
Yep.
But a lot of it was actually like finding people on Instagram and Twitter and contacting them and looking at comedians and looking at musicians. And so it didn't feel like one of these ones where I could go like sit in a town hall and wait for people to come to me. And you were looking at people who were slightly older as well, which sometimes, can be tricky with that. So it felt like taping was the right thing to do. So I personally believe that it has its place.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, I do agree that there can be times when it can be tricky.
Hmm.
I do agree that it shouldn't be relied upon. For us, we tape first instance
Hmm.
and then we get people in a room.
Yeah. Okay. Got you.
And for us, we say to the director, if there's anything you see, if there's anything you like about the actor, let's get them in a room. Let's explore them.
Mm.
Let's allow them to be directed by you.
Got you. Yep. Makes
So
sense.
that's how I think it should be used.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not as, not so that you are never meeting the team
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you end up on set and then you feel like you've never sort of, because it's good to meet everyone.
Yeah.
And also, I might not end up casting you, but I might end up casting you in something else. So
Hmm.
to have those moments where we're together are really important. So that's what I think the compromise is, because we're not going back, I don't think.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But we're
Yeah.
not going back to every session in a room. So
Yep.
we have to be honest about that. We have to look forward. We have to look at the benefits, which is that we can see more people, which
Mm-hmm.
means that we can see newer talent rather than relying on people that we know will come in and. because we've only got a limited amount of time,
Yep.
and people can be based wherever they want. People can fit it into their lives.
Yep. Yep.
And the only other thing I'd say is that, there's a lot of like things being said about self tapes. Like, if you get it in first, you're more likely to be seen.
Mm.
If people don't watch them, do you actually watch your tapes?
Mm.
Like, why would I ask you for a tape and not watch it?
I love that. I love that. Wow. Okay. Yeah. This is interesting because you you sound like, the phrase that's come to my mind is, you sound like one of the real ones. And the reason I'll say that, right, is because a lot of actors that I know, like personally, they speak very highly of you. And the way in which it comes across for me is that you actually have like genuine relationships with them, and some of them you might have, I don't know, asked for a tape, or they've had auditions with you, but they haven't actually been casted for like some of your projects. So I wanted to know, right, how do you interact with and treat actors in order to actually build that rapport?
Um, I don't know. It might be the honest answer. But the only thing I can say is, like, that is a very kind thing to say. All I can do is be honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not transactional.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just, you know, I need you, and then once that's over, bye bye. Actors want to build careers. I want to see them like shine. I want to see them, I don't want them to come into a room with us. I don't want them to get a self tape request and feel like they have not been treated well, that that we didn't watch it, that we don't care. We
Mm-hmm.
really do. I often watch TV, go to the cinema, and I'm just like, go to the theatre, and I'm just like, oh man, I've seen that actor so many times. Like, they've always nearly got the role, but it just never was the right role. And now look at them here, like,
Yeah.
doing it, killing it. Like, that's amazing. But they finally found it. You can see an actor come in your room, and sometimes they're like downbeat, underconfident. It's like, no. I always try and get the actor. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Walk them in, say hello.
Yep.
Try and make it as comfortable as possible. It's a weird situation though, so it's never going to be completely comfortable, but as comfortable as possible. So you
Yeah.
at least are like, you're coming to see our office. You're gonna, it should be an all right time. It's the best I can offer you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because it is still, it's like going for a driving test. Something, there's nerves. There's, as much as I'm like, just be chill. But we
Yeah.
want to make it as fun as it can be. And
Wow.
for some people, it is. It's just like, because you're just meeting, you're getting a chance to meet, catch up. So it should be fun. It should be nice. If you get the job, you get the job. If you don't, then
Mm.
we're just developing that relationship. So that's what it. So it doesn't mean like come in and don't care,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it means don't make it your everything,
Mm.
because the journey is everything. Do you know what I mean? And so for me, there are actors now that I met when I was an assistant, to now having my own office. And it's great to be like, what's going on? What's happening in your lives? And these little snippets where we see each other a few times a year.
Yeah.
So if I'm getting you in, even if you're not getting the job, I want to cast you. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
you want to cast everyone you're getting in. And the people I'm not getting in, probably I want to cast you, you know what I mean? Like, but
Yep.
I can't get everyone in. So
Yeah. It's true. It's very true. You said something about treating actors like, it was making sure that they're having a good interaction with you, right?
mhm.
And I wanted to know, like, because is it possible to get back to everyone that you request the tape for? Like, is that a thing that's done? Like, even if they don't get the role, do they always get feedback? Like, how do those interactions go?
So we really try
Hmm.
and get back to everyone for every
Hmm.
role.
Yeah.
And that's something that was taught to me. So I worked for a casting director for a long time called Sheen Bay,
Yeah.
and that was taught to me there.
Mm.
That, but I'm not going to get back to you in time, and that's going to be the problem, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
we have to sort of wait till the role is cast
True.
sometimes to let everyone go.
Yeah.
And then by that time, your mate might have told their mate, might have told 12 other people. And so it feels like, and that's the thing, how do we do everything so
Yeah.
everyone finds out about everything at the right time?
Yep.
And sometimes we've seen loads of people
Mm.
over a whole project for lots of different roles. So it can take time.
Yes.
Like it's
Yeah.
me and two assistants
Yeah.
in an, with three people
Yeah.
trying to make it work.
Yeah.
So, we're doing our best.
Mm.
Um,
Nah, I hear
but
you.
yeah,
I hear you. I hear you. Well, you're doing a good job too. I wanted to know as well, in a world where like streamers and broadcasters, budgets are going up, money is less, projects are, it's quite a difficult time for a lot of different organizations and creatives, right? But I know there's this emphasis on like making like the biggest and most acclaimed projects, which oftentimes is like, I guess, reaching for, as big a star as possible because they want ratings. But in the midst of that, how important are fresh faces to you, like new talent?
well, I think if you were to ask any casting director, it's incredibly, that's your job, right? I'm there going to the theatre. I'm watching everything on film and TV. No, I mean, I cannot watch everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
between like me and my team to do our best
yeah,
to
yeah.
cover everything between us.
Mm-hmm.
But we are always there looking for new people, looking for. So that's the thing that is the most interesting. Also, the other thing that's really confusing is all the people that have this profile that get these projects greenlit that excite people.
Yeah,
They had to start from somewhere. They had to have these projects. They had to have these moments. So we have to remember that
yeah,
always moving forward. If we're casting the same people all the time, where is the next person coming from?
yeah.
Where's your next Idris Elba? So
It's true. It's very true. Very true. Very true. In terms of the like when you see someone, like you said, you're going everywhere. You're in the cinema, you're watching stuff on TV, you're going to the theater. When you see someone who they might have like a small part, but they're shining and they're showing you the truth that you're looking for, or you see someone on Instagram, like basically when you come across new talent, what do you do? Do you bank them? Do you tell the team keep an eye on them? Do you reach out to them? Like, yeah, how does that work?
it's exactly that. It's
Okay.
exactly that. It's just like you know on Instagram. Obviously, it's like following people. You'll be like, I'll follow them. I'll follow them.
Yeah.
Um, and then there might be a time like I really like the Cabs family, and
Yeah.
then we got Tasia Cabs to be in the kitchen. But you never know when something's gonna come along.
Mm.
So it is. It's just about remembering people, and then there's sometimes where you just don't know. Like
Mm.
so, I really like a rapper called like Cristal as a rapper,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then we got these projects, and they were really right for her. So it was like we reached out and were like, "Have you ever thought about acting?" She did a role in the kitchen, and then she got a role in Queenie. And with Queenie, it was like she's from Brixton. It's set in Brixton. Like I was like, this makes sense to get her
Yes.
involved.
Yeah.
And we've also got a singer Bella in Queenie. And
Mm.
with Bella, it was just a case of not so much. It was I was watching the news one day, and she was on the news, speaking to a journalist, and I was just like, okay,
Mm.
how she's speaking, how she is, she really feels like the role. I
Yeah.
wonder if she can act.
Yeah.
And then she came in and just got better and better and better, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's really cool. That's really interesting." But at the same time, we were seeing actors, so it wasn't
Yeah.
one is better than the other, or it's just like who are all the people that we can explore.
Yeah. 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 And then when you find it, you find it. As simple as that.
Yeah, and I hope that they enjoy it and they want to do more of it. again, like that whole thing about it being transactional. It's not just like, oh, I found it for this one tick. It's like, I hope this is another way that they can explore themselves creatively.
Wow. Do you know what? It's something that's just dawned on me is you really take a holistic approach to the people that you're working with, i.e., you don't see them just as talent, you see them as people. Why is that? I mean, it's amazing and it's good. I think everyone should do that, but I'm really curious as to why or how where that's come from.
Well, I don't think that that is like new or novel. I
Mhm.
think, so many people who do my job, it's quite I think it always has been a job that is about caring for people. You meet so many people, you see them at so many stages of their career.
Yeah.
You're there to support them, or can talk about, you know, how they've changed since they did this or that when you saw them at a showcase or a. So I think it's quite certainly all the people that I've worked for or interned with, or they all had this approach. So
Mm.
it's definitely something that's learned, and then also it just feels like the best way to get people to give you good performances. And again, that's not for me, that's for them.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
if you come in a room and you feel intimidated and that you're being judged and that you shouldn't be here, you're not going to do your best work.
yeah.
So my job is to help and support you to do that and champion you. That
Mm.
really is what my job is, to be like, listen, we've seen this actor in this, that, but we think this is what they could bring to the role. Let's get them in and see what they can do. And
Yeah.
then be like, oh man, not today. That's not on them though. That's the role. That's the script.
Yep.
It just, only one person can get the job. Sometimes it hurts.
Mm.
Sometimes it absolutely and utterly hurts when someone doesn't get a job because they're amazing. But just someone else was the role. And
Yeah.
that is my job. How do the audience understand the story? That's all it is. It's like so not personal.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with people. So it's incredibly personal.
Wow. Yeah. That is, yeah, that's very true. Wow. You know your job inside out. For someone who like wants to get into casting, right? Where would you advise they start? Or how would you advise they start?
There's just so much, isn't there? I suppose the one thing that we have now are just so many, I use it all the time. So many other casting directors use it all the time. People are posting all the time now
Hmm.
online with their casting calls. So
Yeah.
you have that.
Yeah.
You have many workshops. You have things online
Mhm.
that you can watch. You have groups that you can attend. There's many different ways.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a bit like my job as well. If you ask people how they got into it, they're going to say 1,000 different ways.
True. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. 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 Makes sense.
so I can't. All I can say is, if you want to do this, it's going to be really hard.
Wow.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of actors. So
Mm.
why do you want to do this?
Yep.
And then remember that, because that's going to keep you going.
Wow. Thank you. That's great advice. Great advice. And one of my final questions, Aisha, is what do you think the industry needs more of?
I mean, I think it needs more of what it always needs more of. It needs more people that come from different parts of our society to be, be the gatekeepers. That's what it needs.
I
I
hear.
still think we lack um, diverse storytelling in
Mm.
many different ways. I still think that things are quite, it feels like a risk every time, and that doesn't seem to change
Yep.
rather than the norm.
Yep.
Um, and there's still a worry. And I don't know if TV or films or theatre that is for different communities is given a chance sometimes, is given the same chance
Mm.
as some other shows are
Yeah.
to just find their feet
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That,
to explore. So, yeah.
that's a good point. Wow. Wow. Thank you, Aisha. Before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Is there anything that you're working on? Yeah. Before we go,
I mean, I wish I could share what I'm working on, but I can't. So no. But
fair dude.
we're trying our best, and hopefully, fun
Yes,
things are coming.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Well, Aisha, you really are a light in this industry, and
That's very kind.
yeah, like, do you know what? Like, I see it, but then when I speak with other people, like, your name comes up a lot in a way that I didn't realize. Like, essentially what you said, like, this thing actually is personal, and they regard you in a personal way, and I'm like, oh, that's a good, like, really? But then it's more than one person, so I'm like, oh, how do you, almost like a spider, how do you maintain like good relationships with people, and you have to see so many people on a regular basis? But it's what you said, it's caring about them in your interactions with them, that leaves that mark. So yes,
Oh well,
please
that's.
continue.
I'm glad. I'm glad that people, yeah, that it's working, and that
No,
Thank you.
good, it's good, it's good. Well, we will catch up, Aisha. Thank you so much.